I'm Sharon Hirsch. I'm retired, and I'm a public education advocate. I like organizations that have the courage to stand up for what a lot of us believe in, and that's what Progress Texas does.
It's Thursday, January 22nd, 2026, and this is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. Incoming weather made all the more frightening by the flight of Senator Ted Cruz out of harm's way and into the welcoming arms of Laguna Beach, California. And let's stop right there and remind ourselves that while Laguna Beach is certainly Tony, it's also one of the more liberal spots in Orange County, and we're hoping we might have a few listeners there to report in on traveling Ted. Again, the timing is important and updating from yesterday. At this point, high chances of precipitation and significantly sub-freezing temperatures look to combine for a risk of snow and ice buildup on roadways, power lines, and trees in Amarillo and Lubbock on Friday evening, DFW mid-morning on Saturday, Austin in the wee hours of this Sunday, and in Houston on Sunday evening. The further north you are, the more likely that snow will be part of the picture. The Texas Tribune has a nice rundown on stuff to do well before those deadlines arrive, which means now, basically, car accidents clearly get a lot more likely in this kind of weather. There's also a heightened risk of carbon monoxide poisoning caused by generators or other gas-powered heaters. In Texas, of course, we're understandably worried about the power going out, whether that's an ERCOT or grid-related problem or local infrastructure damage due to ice and freezing trees. The basics on protecting your pipes, stuff to have around as well, like extra blankets, reliable flashlights, things like that. Link from the Texas Tribune to review in the show notes. And good luck to us all. As for Ted Cruz, his people say he's on a long scheduled work trip and will be back in Texas before the weather hits, but his continued failure to read the room. While it's kind of funny in one way, it's also indicative of the impunity that underlies the worldview of Republican elected officials from Donald Trump on down the line. They are not public servants. They are in power, with an oligarchic system keeping them in power. Ted Cruz quite simply does not care what you think or what I think, regardless of how we vote. Much more reliable and inspiring in times of trouble than the federal government or the state government, or in many cases across Texas, our local governments, is good old HEB. Priscilla Aguirre at mysanantonio.com says HEB management is issuing reassuring statements that panic buying isn't necessary. They say they plan for regular store hours and regular stock levels through this upcoming adventure. Austin meteorologist Avery Tomasco, who's a hoot, says, quote, "You already have plenty of toilet paper, and buying more won't fill the emptiness in your heart. Leave HEB alone," unquote. A couple of different angles this morning on the race for the Democratic nomination for the U.S. Senate, starting here with Burgess Everett at Semaphore. He writes that State Rep James Tallarico's apparent momentum in the Democratic primary has drawn interest from national leaders. He secured conferences with Democratic Senators Chris Coons, Bernie Sanders, and Chris Van Hollen, all of whom are currently officially maintaining neutrality between Tallarico and his Democratic primary opponent, Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Though Senator Coons has praised Tallarico's campaigning skills, and Senator Van Hollen has expressed that he's watching the Texas race closely. Part of this, of course, is significant shifts in polling. A December 2025 survey from Texas Southern University had Crockett up by 8 points immediately after joining the race right at the filing deadline. A poll held a month later, earlier this month, by Emerson College, as we've told you, found Tallarico ahead by 9 points. In that most recent poll, Tallarico's strength lies with white primary voters, 57%, and Latino primary voters, 59%, while Crockett maintains a dominant 80% support level among black primary voters. The targeted Republican incumbent Senator John Cornyn has noticed Tallarico as well. He says, quote, "I think Tallarico is dangerous. He's capable of raising a lot of money. And if you look at the head-to-head with Paxton, it's tied," unquote. And that's true. That Emerson polling shows Ken Paxton as a much weaker Republican nominee than Senator Cornyn. We'll see if that stops ultra-MAGA Texas Republican primary voters, who largely see Cornyn as nowhere near authoritarian enough for their tastes, from putting Paxton up anyway. From the other angle, on Congresswoman Crockett, Progress Texas digital associate Haley Smith brought this up on our last Friday In Progress Roundtable. Maya Rupert at Salon's essay entitled "Jasmine Crockett and the Cost of Authenticity." Rupert notes an established dynamic recently played out on the podcast Las Culturistas, where host Matt Rogers dismissed Crockett's Texas Senate run, suggesting she was too well-defined compared to James Tallarico, a white man whose strategic ambiguity Rogers found more appealing. Rupert sees that for people of color, authenticity is often a trap rather than a liberating ideal. And her essay holds that the ensuing backlash against this podcast highlights a glaring double bind. Namely, while voters claim to want so-called real candidates, black women like Crockett are often penalized for the very clarity they provide, contrasting sharply with white male candidates. Bernie Sanders, provided here as Rupert's example, who are praised for saying exactly how they feel. An important and thought-provoking read from Salon linked in our show notes this morning. An endorsement, if perhaps a lukewarm endorsement, from the Fort Worth Star-Telegram goes to Democrat Taylor Ramett, veteran and union leader up against MAGA darling Lee Wamsgans in that special election runoff for the state Senate in Tarrant County. The Star-Telegram editorial board writes, quote, Democrat Taylor Ramett led the first round of voting despite the fact that District 9, covering much of North and West Tarrant County, is solid Republican turf. That was largely because 2 Republicans split the vote, but Ramett came close to winning outright, and he's got a chance to pull off an upset in the runoff. That would be the best outcome for Fort Worth. It's not that the winner here, whose term will end in early 2027, will sway important legislation. A Ramett victory would send an important message to the Texas and Tarrant County Republican parties. Enough. Ramett has focused his campaign on economic and quality of life concerns. He's more in tune with everyday voters, the price of groceries, the availability of reasonably priced housing, the quality of public schools, and the length of their commutes. And if Ramett, 33, should pull this off, it will be a clear signal to the GOP that it is in danger of going too far to the right and ignoring the needs of Texans beyond the narrowest Republican base. By nominating Wamsgans, a 58-year-old Southlake resident, the party embraced its conservative id. Texas Republicans need a jolt, a reminder that they should prioritize the biggest concerns of Texas families. Education, not just school vouchers. Health care, not just restrictions on abortion and gender care. And housing, not just cutting property taxes, unquote. Early voting is underway in both Tarrant County State Senate District 9 and Houston's Congressional District 18 through Tuesday, January 27th. In Houston CD 18, which has gone without representation in the U.S. House since the death of Congressman Sylvester Turner in March of 2025, a choice between Democrats Amanda Williams and Christian Menifee. Election day for both is Saturday, January 31st, and a special election runoff in a midterm year in the middle of bad weather is very likely to see very low turnout, which means your vote counts huge. Get out there and get it done, preferably before the weather hits. For the rest of us, the March primary looms as well, and now's the time to confirm your registration for the primary. Deadline on that is Monday, February the 2nd. Early voting in the primary starts on February 17th. See the show notes for Texas 2026 March primary ballot form from the Texas Tribune that you can use right now with your home address to see who will be on the ballot in the primary in which you choose to vote. Everything you need to be sure your registration's in order can be found at govotexas.org. And by the way, if you're planning to vote by mail, note that news about the U.S. Postal Service. They say they may not postmark a piece of mail on the same day it's dropped off to them. The later you send in your ballot, the more likely it is to be rejected. If you're voting by mail, you want to get that done as soon as possible. Progress Texas is on location tonight in DFW. We invite you to join us for a debate hosted by the Richardson area Democrats between 2 of the Dems running for Texas Attorney General, attorney and former Galveston Mayor Joe Jaworski, and Dallas State Senator Nathan Johnson, hosted by journalist James Barragan at the Dallas College Richland campus tonight. Live stream and RSVP links are in the show notes this morning. Our mission at Progress Texas is to improve and save Texans' lives by acting on our shared, bold, progressive values, and that starts with countering the billionaire and corporate-funded disinformation machine. While we enjoy the support of hundreds of partners, chances are that you, dear listener, haven't joined the team yet. If you're a regular, let's get you on board right now. Huge thanks to John Cotter, Jenny Laughlin, and Elizabeth Causey, all monthly supporters. We appreciate all of you very much. Join them and the team at ProgressTexas.org. We're on the radio in Houston. Progress Texas has joined the lineup of the legendary KPFT radio in H-Town and are now reaching voters in Texas's largest and most diverse city. And with your support, we hope to replicate that effort beyond Houston this year to the top 5 Texas media markets. Click the link in the show notes to make your tax-deductible donation to help us reach new audiences via Texas radio. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Thursday, January 22nd, 2026. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is an independent, nonprofit, rapid response media organization. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks so much for listening. Have a great day. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.